Happy Friday, Smite fans, and welcome into the EU Smite Challenger Circuit. We've got our third and final best of three matchup of the week just over the horizon for you. A couple EU matches yesterday. Both of those go 2-0. Could be a competitive one, though, here today between the Gilded Gladiators and the Aaru Scorpions. My name is Dolson. Trelly is with me to start off our competitive Smite day here on Friday. I nearly said Saturday again. My days are all
just jumbled together.
Blending together. Yeah, I don't know. Like, as gamers, is an 11 a.m. start time early? Do we consider this early, Trelly?
I mean, it used to be, but now that I work here, not anymore.
Yeah, you're a working man now. So
I'm just used to waking up at an early time now.
So early for some of us, maybe not for a lot of us, though, who are a little bit more used to working these types of hours. Let's look at the EU schedule for this week. Again, 2 O's across the board in the other two matchups that we've got. Styx Ferryman over the Wargs, and then Hex Mambo over the Ravens. That Hex Mambo match, admittedly pretty surprising. The Ravens had some moments where I thought they were going to be able to fight back in, ultimately fall just a bit short in their comeback attempts in both of those games. And so Hex Mambo, they control the EU SEC, it feels like right now, a team that is so talented and on top of the standings. And pretty surprising, Trelly, the Aaru Scorpions, a team that went 0-6, if I remember correctly, in the last EU SEC, have a win already moving into this phase. So these types of matchups very important. Gilded Gladiators at 0-1, Aaru Scorpions at 0-1 right, and then 1-0 for the Aaru Scorpions. A win here for the Gladiators, and you're looking at four teams tied up in the middle of the EU SEC.
I mean, looking at those standings there, it looks nothing as to what we saw in Phase 1. That was just completely different at that point. I think Mambo was really turning up towards the end once they got to play in Masters, that sort of thing. But between the Scorpions and the Gladiators, you're right to say they were hovering towards the bottom of the standings as it went. But, you know, the Gladiators, they've been a squad for such a long time. They've been together. They know their ups and downs, I would say. So I don't think they're letting that affect them too much. They just want to try and improve together as a unit and just make sure their all-around team play is going to be top-notch.
When I said this yesterday, what I want to see from the Gladiators is now week-over-week improvement, because you're right, Trelly. This is a team that in the just F6 version of the squad has been together for a while, and it's always been a team that's been good enough to qualify into the SEC and take some games, take some matches, get some wins, but has never taken that next step in being the top team out of their region. So they've always been here over the last couple of phases, couple of years of the SEC, but haven't quite taken that step forward. Now, this is a bit of a different roster from how from what we're used to seeing with this squad. Stimix, Maskill, Sotos, Toddy still with this squad. But now Worst Turtle will be playing support here for this team. Rotwin not playing support this week for this squad. Worst Turtle now stepping in. So you look at roster swaps. We've had a lot of them in the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
How do you think a support roster swap affects a team?
I mean, it's interesting because I think this squad likes to play through Toddy a lot in the sense of, I think all of the USCC teams really do like to play through their ADCs a fair bit, but Toddy usually able to sit back pretty well in lane, just be able to farm up, not get too far behind, and then just pop off late game as you want your ADC to do. Your support is usually the facilitator of that, right? Being able to peel for your ADC, at least in the early, when it is still duo lane before that laning phase ends, and then be able to just initiate the fights and let the team pop off, that sort of thing. So it really just depends on how much they've been practicing with Worst Turtle, or at least have that sort of synergy already built up. But we've talked about it a few times already. They've just been together so long. I imagine the team play is going to be top-notch no matter what. And because you can sort of leave your ADC on an island, I don't think adding Worst Turtle in instead of Rotwin is going to mess up the team synergy too much. Yeah,
they've got enough chemistry with one another in the other roles that you would assume you can smooth over a roster swap. Talk about roster swaps. This Aaru Scorpions team, remember, in SCC phases of past, has just straight up not won, right? And that's not like turning a phrase. They just haven't won matches. And so now the Aaru Scorpions bring in a totally new look at a roster. So Davey and Picarino remain from the Aaru Scorpions of old, I guess. We've only had one phase of the Aaru Scorpions. But now Preds joins this team, a name that a lot of people should be familiar with, played on the Wargs in the past. But also a couple relatively new names to this team. You'll have Panvich in the soul lane and Aprillium, of course, now slotting in for this squad. And in some pretty impactful roles, that solo and jungle, that are having some relatively new faces to the EU SEC, some SEC play in the past, a lot of SOC experience between these two players. And so really what you're looking at here, Charlie, it feels like, is can the Scorpions, with sort of a pieced-together roster, have enough talent to overtake a higher chemistry squad, though, that struggled in the past for the Gladiators?
Yeah, I just went to great lengths talking about sometimes when you add new players, it's not going to affect your team chemistry too much. But jungle and solo, I think, is a bit different.
Yeah, right.
It just really depends on how much you're able to translate that into a late-game team fight. You know, I would say it's going to be difficult, but
Sure.
at the end of the day, you know, Preds has been around, obviously, so you still have that support mindset in the back of your mind where you're able to, you know, shot call for your team or at least help out shot calling in that regard. So I don't think they're going to, you know, struggle too much.
Right.
It's just really how are they going to adapt to that play style.
Right, again, I think the talent of individual players now can step up for this Aaru Scorpions team. Already 1-0 here in the EUSCC. Picks and bans for game number 1. We'll reveal more about what types of strategies potentially a new support brings out for the Gilded Gladiators and 3 new players to the Aaru Scorpions. How does that adapt preference in picks and bans? Because yesterday we saw a good bit of Heimdall presence in one of the matches that I casted, a lot of first pick ADCs in those games. And I wondered if Yu Huang would start to get some presence in these SEC matches, because remember last week in the SPL starting off later today, by the way, Yu Huang was on the rise. Didn't see much of it in the matches that I casted yesterday of the SEC, but clearly strong enough to warrant a ban here for the Gilded Gladiators.
Yeah, I always like to see how much the meta varies between, you know, the NASCC, the EUSCC, and the SPL respectively.
Are you that
Yu Huang,
impatient
something that
for your
is
death?
transcending that gap, and Kleena is something that has been
Yep.
here for quite some time. No matter what league you're playing, you're going to understand how much presence she has, usually in the solo lane, but we've seen in a little bit in the jungle. So Kleena first pick, pretty safe there. Not too many counters you have to deal with. Nemesis, also something that is always a good answer. Not too many counter picks either. You don't have to worry about your shield right now into
Right.
Kleena. While the Sun Wukong is being hovered. That's something that we have not seen in
At
quite
all.
some time. Usually pretty safe in lane. Doesn't lose too many matchups, but definitely doesn't win too many matchups. I think the sustain is really what they're going for there.
Are we back to Warriors having their place in the solo lane? We saw plenty of it yesterday. For a while, it was the unique, you know, Hades was prioritized, ADCs were prioritized over in the solo lane. Are we at a spot now where Warriors have kind of regained their throne over there on the solo
I
lane?
can confidently say Warriors are viable again, which is
Viable,
good.
sure.
It's just the issue is we've interviewed so many solo laners, like Final K and Captain Twig gave completely different answers when asked this question. Final K said, no, Warriors are bad. And then Twig's like, yeah, I think we're going to see the new meta. So we've seen the King Arthur banned here, which is
Right.
something that has not been prioritized for a while. Kakolans are getting picked first in the SPL. So I do think because of those Glad Shield changes, Warriors are definitely back. I'm not going to say on top, but they still have their presence. While we were discussing that, a few different picks went through there. The Merlin, something that does not get a lot of pressure in the mid lane, but is always going to be a decent late game hard carry. And the Shibalanke, something that you're just picking essentially for that ultimate, being able to help out the whole team with Darkest of Nights. And you know, you're never going to lose lane that hard, but you're also not looking to dominate it either.
Yeah, look, if you want to scale up, X-Ball will do that. Get you to level 20, have some good team fight presence later on in these games. Khepri, strong pick for the Aaru Scorpions as well. A dynamic pick. Mike, when we did the supports roundtable this week, Polar Bear Mike, big fan of the Khepri, actually sees it as a pretty unique. I think a lot of people, a lot of supports maybe would look at Khepri and say, well, he's got a root and abduct. He's kind of a defensive style pick. Go back and listen to the roll queue, because Mike is a big fan of the Khepri. Actually thinks it's a pretty dynamic style of pick. And then of course the Scarab's Blessing totally disrupts team fights. Jingwei, remember for a while, Trelly, was the hunter. Was first pick, first ban. Gets left open a little bit later on here, and the Aaru Scorpion's gonna be able to grab a pretty strong late pick in the Jingwei. And then Fenrir and Sobek. So frontline now comes together for the Gilded Gladiator squad. Fenrir plus Sobek as far as initiation goes. Do you like what the Gladiators have?
Yeah, I think whenever I see a Khepri locked in, Fenrir's always got to be in the back of your mind. Khepri, no form of CC immunity. If you're worried about Scarab's Blessing, if you're worried about someone just getting revived in a fight, you can just pick the Khepri up and say, that's not going to happen. We're going to kill you first. If Khepri dies first, there's no revive. You can usually force those beats pretty easily. So I thought this pick might be in the back of the Gladiators' mind, and they grab it pretty much immediately.
Gilded Gladiators searching for their first win this phase in the SEC, and the Aaru Scorpions looking to double their total. Game number 1 between two squads who in the past have been closely ranked up against one another. And there are a couple of picks that I want to catch up on here as well, Trelly. We sped through picks and bans, as Doug joins us, of course, for game number 1. Game number 2 in what could be a Game 3. Picarino on the Discordia, so a 75% win rate on Disco through 4 games, 3 wins, 1 loss. Discordia, it feels like a solid, you get some utility in the Strife, pretty straightforward style pick. You can get some damage. Of course, the passive is nice. Hasn't been the overwhelming preference, but still a strong pick nonetheless for the Scorpions mid.
Yeah, for me, the Discordia is quite literally just a passive bot. You're giving it to your most often jungle and saying, hey, run away with this. You're going to get a little bit more damage than the enemy jungle, and then you can just use that to your advantage, try and push the lead, that sort of thing. Sometimes your solo laner will just poke someone out and be very rude about it and steal the passive away, but more often than not, you want that on your jungler. This Nemesis will be able to output just a ton of damage with that passive, and it'll work out, you know, in the team's favor. So that's all Discordia is for me. Sure, that second ability is massive for setting up team fights when there is a big grouping, but I just think utilizing that passive on your squad and trying to get an early lead is the best thing that Discordia can bring to a squad.
Well, both the junglers will join the mids, as we've so often seen here. I think the jungle battle will be fun to follow, Trelly. The Nem on one side, of course, the ultimate Prot Shred, I guess Prot Steal, technically. And then set up slows, plenty of slows. You see why you see Worst Turtle pick up the sprint. On the flip side, the Fenrir has been a popular jungle over the years, but heavy pressure on the beads is, I think, what comes to my mind here for Maskill. As such, the Scorpions will grab 5 sets of beads. So what kind of power curve are you looking for here out of the jungle between a Nem, a Fenrir? When do you want to see him get active?
I think Maskill needs to look for an ult at level 5. Where they decide to do that is really dealer's choice. The Khepri is always going to be a good option, as I mentioned. If you can just hit that jump stun, Scarab's Blessing is never going to be able to come through. You usually can force speeds every time, and then just rotate back in about 90 seconds or so once you have some CDR, and you should be able to force a free kill in that lane. You have a lot of follow-up, and because you have a Sobek on your squad as well, beads all the more prevalent in being able to be birds down. It looks like Pred's here. He's going to take a bit of damage, but Worst Turtle has no form of CDR, so a second pluck not coming through.
Oh, that is just obnoxious. Preds takes 66% of his health bar in damage, but I was going to say waddle away, gets plucked again, holds on to the beads. This time some body blocks could make a big difference, some sustain coming out of the Khepri, and Preds will survive, but Worst Turtle already starting to feel himself a bit with these plucks, and that's always so threatening. It feels like Sobek's such a momentum, feel yourself style of pick. And even some simple plucks in lane like that can be pretty threatening for the Aaru Scorpions as the game goes on.
I just realized both supports are on the gang boss skin, so there's definitely some rivalry going on here.
Some synergy. Oh, are they on the same gang? I don't know if...
No, these are certainly rival gangs. Yeah, Worst Turtle has been... He pre-beats the hog the purple. This man's a menace. I saw the Preds was saving the hog there, and I was like, certainly he's not going to be able to get this. There's just too much CC, but he pre-beat so he could get that hog. Now, though, Maskill has a great gank opportunity. I was talking about forcing the beads down from Preds early on. They're already gone, and it was just to confirm that purple buff, so I imagine to see that Fenrir get very active on the left side of the map pretty shortly here.
Yeah, it's a pretty binary now outcome on that decision from Preds. Either you get punished because your beads are down and it's not worth the purple buff, or you're able to survive until your beads come back up, and then purple buff feels just fine. So you wonder if that forces Preds and Davey to play a bit different in that lane. You gotta be a bit more aware. Even a Sobek pluck from Worst Turtle has been pretty threatening up to this point. But you're right, now Maskill a clearer target, though with the wave pressure on the left going the way it is. Preds and Davey have essentially just been pushed back underneath this tower for a decent bit of time. I don't know if we'll see much out of the solo lane in this one, Trelly. Lystimic's up against Panvich on the Sun Wukong. So we haven't seen the Sun Wukong in a little while, but you're right, sustain, staying in fight, staying in lane a little bit longer, and you get Soul Eater early. Should be that Panvich is safe and healthy enough to withstand Lystimic's and maybe Maskill.
Yeah, because we don't see any teleport, because we don't see any blink, I imagine both of these laners just want to run past each other, get that Soul Eater online as quickly as possible, and unless these junglers get active on that side of the map, we won't see too much targeted aggression from either of them. Panvich just impossible to gank right now as long as that Somersault Cloud's available, and as long as Lystimic's is pretty quick on the dash into the wall as well, just so hard to find a gank on either of those lanes. So just a farm bot, go to blue buff, go away, that sort of thing. I think that's about as much time as these junglers want to spend, unless something is forced in that lane. Preds, though.
Just riveting.
Oh,
just riveting over in solo.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Trelly, we should keep our eyes over there throughout the game. An actual difference, as some builds have remained similar. There's a pluck on a Preds, minus the beads. Has Scarab's Blessing, of course. So somewhat safe. Waiting to see if we'd see a Root of Duct on the Toddy, but Toddy will be just fine. A bit of a build difference over in mid, though, as stacking items were the name of the game yesterday. Saw lots of Charon's coin in the set that I had casted. And we did see Warlock staff, but like at the end of the build for Zeros on Baba Yaga, who's going to be getting those stacks anyway. Looks like Picorino opting for that item early. And we'll see what Sotos ends up going into. Preds blocked and now jumped on by Maskill, up down into the Scarab's Blessing. Ragnarok procs the revive. And ultimate falls, and the Gilded Gladiators find first blood. But how about this? A return opportunity for the Aaru Scorpions, but the kills are just going to escape. Toddy sends some poison darts out. Picorino has his ultimate. And that could reinitiate this fight. Will the apple land? Worst turtle is low as well. But my goodness, it looks like the Gilded Gladiators are all going to survive.
Yeah, the chase down was solid there, but no blink on Aprillium. Uses the ultimate and the slice and dice. All the slows were expended. The dash is gone, so I don't think there's going to be any more chase opportunity. Unless, of course, Picorino went for the bounce shot on that apple. But it's just so difficult to try and land that, especially when the enemies know it's coming, or at least paying attention. You can usually just watch it go by you and aren't going to lose too much there. So, honestly, a great ult by Maskill. I thought the Ragnarok popping the Scarab's Blessing a little bit early was going to be too much, but the whole team was there to follow up, make sure that Preds goes down a second time. But look at this.
Yeah, my goodness, that's a nice double stun from Maskill. Preds does not have Scarab's Blessing and is on the wrong side of the map. And one more auto will get it done. Maskill, now first kill of the game despite setting up both of them. And this Fenrir is already paying off. A nice double stun there. Do see some action over on right, just a bit out of position there was Preds. Didn't expect the jump in from Maskill.
Yeah, looking at the builds as well, looks like the Scorpions aren't really going for early game aggression. Obviously, Aprillium with the Golden Blade, you want to try and farm early, and it's going to translate into some early aggression if you want. But Warlock Staff means Picorino not trying to get active for quite some time. The Gauntlet of Thebes is going to take a bit to stack up for Preds until Preds feels tanky, whereas Worst Turtle just has the Spirit Robe. Transcendence is going to benefit you pretty much right away. There's no stacking from Sotos either until that Charon's coin is finished, so It does look like right now the Gilded Gladiators are firing on all cylinders, trying to get very active as Worst Turtle 1v3 tries to invade that red buff. These are the style of plays I was expecting to see, and so far been paying off.
Well, the good news for the Gladiators is you got a nice gold lead. The good news for the Scorpions is that a couple of kills, a little bit of neutral farm isn't enough to get this gold lead spiraled out of control by any means. Very much still in the game, and I think Picorino, with the style of build he's gone for, wants to stack up a bit anyway. A continued purple buff pressure. Actually looks like got dropped by the Aaru Scorpions. Maybe Davey with the wind there was able to snag the purple buff. So now the Gilded Gladiators have spent a little bit of time. Davey at least able to confirm the buff. Getting this Jing Wei up and running as fast as possible. It's going to be a great look for the Aaru Scorpions.
Yeah, this is the issue with picking solo laners as passive as these, though. Because we saw so much pressure on the left side of the map, it looked like maybe Nemesis was going to try and force something on the right and then realize, like, wait, there's no kill opportunity there, so I'm just sort of wasting my time. Went back to mid and just sapped some farm up instead because it just doesn't seem like there's any opening on that solo lane. Any time you spend on the right side of the map for either of these junglers right now is just going to be a waste of farm. So blue buff and then gone. That's all these junglers are trying to do. Even if there's pressure, overwhelming pressure on the left side of the map, we're never going to see anything being forced.
Man, Sotos is going scaling with this build, right? You got Charon's coin, then into what we assume will be the Warlock staff. Picorino, as I've mentioned already, grabs the Warlock staff. Few stacks building up on that. This is going to be a very strong Merlin once all these items get nice and stacked up, and much the same for Discordia as well. Seems like Trelly, both mids, okay with a slower pace of play right now as far as Warlock staff goes. Of course, you want to fight, get kills and assists for the Charon's coin. But Sotos, maybe once you finish up that Warlock staff, fine, just to chill in mid, farm up a bit, and get a nice late game build going.
Yeah, I mean, Sotos has been rotating a fair bit already. Because those Warlock staffs the stacks aren't coming in, but once that item is completed, I imagine to see Merlin just sit and wait for a bit and say, you know, if you guys are going to invade purple, I'll probably just sit here. I just want to, stack up. I want to get some HP online. Some percentage pen would be nice. So don't expect me to make these clutch rotations over to duo lane. You know, when I see Worst Turtle in a position like this, usually you'd be like, oh no, maybe the Sobek's out of position, but just so tanky with that Spirit Robe finish. Anytime the Abduct comes through or a Root, anything like that, not going to see too much pressure.
Sodos, this is pretty simple for the Aaru Scorpions. That is just Strife into Abduct, and Sodos a bit out of sorts, and Worst Turtle not much better off. Double kill for Aprillium. A Scarab's Blessing down. Beads get used as well, but a small loss to take in exchange for a double kill. Both junglers now impacting the map, and that brings this game almost literally back to even.
That was +6 and now +28 as Toddy is also getting aggressed upon, but not enough chase down. The purple buff is the prize they want, but look on the right side of the map. Panvich goes into the Somersault Cloud so low.
Suddenly we're starting to scrap just a bit. Jumps exchange. Lestemic's left alone with Aprillium in Panvich. Dancing in and out of that ultimate, nearly turns around the damage onto the Sun Wukong. Beads taken off of the solo laner, but somehow everyone lives there. Panvich low, Aprillium was pretty low as well. Mass kill nearly dies off there. The team's been a bit more scrappy than I expected in the first 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah, definitely a lot of shots being fired here. And I've seen a few different beads wasted in the past couple of minutes, where Aprillium, obviously, you have the Scarab's Blessing on you for the cleanse. You didn't have to use the beads there, just a bit of miscommunication. And then, on the other side of the map, Lestemic's assume that Slice and Dice was going to net a little bit more damage and had to use those beads. But look at this. The Gladiators are trying to pull this in. Given the positioning, unless Picarino can walk up, it seems like it will go down for free. No one from the Scorpions are going to even try and step up at this point. There's just not, the positioning's not there, so the Gladiators get a free Gold Fury.
They sure do. Free Gold Fury to the Gilded Gladiators in a 999 gold lead as a result. Our Scorpions have already looked down that style of gold lead in this game, so I don't think too worried about that. Already a bit of a difference, though, in some of the solo lane builds. Some of the 2 whole solo lane builds that we've got. Fully stacked still leader for both, of course. But Panvich sticking with some more damage here. Looking at the Transcendence, could still be a Glad Shield after that. Lestemic's going right into the Glad Shield, so a bit more bruisery from the Quidna. I guess adding in that 1 extra damage item maybe gives Panvich the ability to control some fights with damage a bit better. Are you worried about the tankiness, though, of the Sun Wukong?
As long as you can get into that Somersault Cloud, usually you're going to have a second health bar, and you also have a Capriole if you really need it. So I don't think it's going to affect Panvich too much. We saw him almost get bursted down just a bit ago because there's so much targeted damage in Brutalized, things like that. But as the game goes on, I have to imagine that Panvich will throw a couple more defensive items in there, and there shouldn't be a problem until, you know, you're getting crit by a Shivalanke, things like that. So unless a Spectral Armor gets built, Panvich might have to worry about the physical damage dealers in the later stage of the game, but as of right now, I'm not seeing it as too much of an issue. I wouldn't even be surprised if Lestemec starts going into something tanky as well. Genji's guard usually on the table.
Ooh, a little bit of a 1v1 over in the duo lane. Davies just hit more autos right now.
Oh, man.
The lights go out by Toddy. Airstrike to seal it. But broken ankles from Toddy means that he will live. That is a win for Davy. But Toddy at least able to do enough to stay on the map. And again, differences in builds here. Ikavelasi feeling just fine up against Transcendence and Atalantis bow from Toddy. Davy just a couple autos away from fully getting that solo kill.
Yeah, and it looks like the Scorpions are going to go for the Pyromancer. Now, Lestemic's is here and tanky enough to try and go for a steal, but beautiful stun might confirm it.
Aaru Scorpions do indeed confirm the Pyromancer. It was close, though. Lestemic's had some damage headed towards the objective. With Aaru Scorpions, with enough wherewithal and presence of mind, actually, to pull back this gold lead just a bit. Remember, 1,000 gold on the end of that Gold Fury that is now slowly dripped away, and the Aaru Scorpions, XP-wise, back in control of this match as well. Jungle has been going pretty well for this Aaru Scorpion squad, and then also support and ADC both have a 1-level lead. So if you're looking at the left side of the map, the Aaru Scorpions maybe around this next Fury, I feel like that's an opportunity to find a bit of presence here in this match. Both junglers showed some face at different points now of this game. Both have Blink, and both have pretty unique builds here. Looks like more auto attack centric from this Nemesis. Usually see that or full-on ability base, but Aprillium looking like the former is the better option here in this game.
Yeah, Aprillium's build is, I've been seeing a lot in the SPLs of recent. You want to try and shred protections for your other physical damage dealers. This is more so a style of build we see when there's 2 ADCs, but when you have a Sun Wukong who's building all this damage as well, I think you're going to get the benefit out of it if you're able to just use that ultimate, shred some protections. Anyone will be able to get bursted down, so I love the thought process there from the Nemesis as we're seeing the Oni Fury's not up for 2 minutes, so getting aggressive at this side of the map. Not going to be too advantageous. There's no real neutral objective you're trying to pull since the Pyromancer went down as well. So just really trying to get some objectives, some relics down, I should say. Force any bit of ultimate before that happens. But Davy's so confident in lane.
Yeah, why not? You won the last trade effectively, and you've got Aprillium here as well. Although Aprillium might be the one who needs some help. Toddy is going to live, and then a Ragnarok under the tower means mass kill gets the kill. And the dive is no good from the Aaru Scorpions. Toddy again able to live. Disengage plus relics just enough to keep this X-Ball on the map. And a bit of a bait and switch from the Gladiators.
I think that was the opposite of what we saw previously, where, you know, Scarab's Blessing and Aprillium's Beads were both available and neither got used that time. Preds maybe just a little bit out of range. Sotos needs one more cooldown, but Picarino will be able to lazy back there as long as no one's there. But Toddy's getting reganked.
Oh no, Preds is here and has Scarab's Blessing. Finally a kill for Davey after Toddy rather has been taken so low. Now 3 times and only one of them is converted into a kill. So the Aaru Scorpions at least able to fight back a bit over on left. Kind of needed that one. It felt like a couple of plays the Aaru Scorpions were looking for hadn't worked out here as of late. And when you're working with a new roster like this, you kind of need to see one go in. And that's exactly what happens here for the Scorpions.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the shutdown onto Aprillium was going to hurt the Scorpions pretty much. But getting a kill onto your Jingwei early, always going to pay pretty well, and especially because there's a level lead already in the duo lane. Davy's going to get some free farm here as the Oni Fury spawns in about 3 seconds, where Toddy's going to have to run all the way from base. We're seeing Panvich over here on the left side of the map. That usually means the Oni Fury is going to be getting pulled, and it looks like that is what's going to be happening. The Gilded Gladiators are either none the wiser or not going to be able to make it here in time.
Worst Turtle close by. Steal opportunity, of course, if Worst Turtle wants to use that lurking in the waters, but it's a Root of Death traded out by the block. Aprillium has found Sotos, the double dash in. Watch out for the Scarab's Blessing. Could make a big difference here in this fight, and it does. Perfectly timed by Preds. And Panvich finds the first kill. A Ragnarok searching for Aprillium will hit its target. But now mass kill out of sorts as the Strife and the Root from Picarino and Preds hit their target, and a 3-kill swing. Only traded back by 1.
Well, Stemix level 17 here, hiding in the wall, could stall out this gold tree for some time. Doesn't look like the Stemix gets in, though. Picarino goes around back.
Uh-oh, now Toddy being chased down. Davey, a couple more autos. Airstrike doesn't hit for damage, but it opens up the door for Panvich. And now the Sun Wukong starting to get the ball rolling a bit. Massive fight for the Aaru Scorpions will result, unless stolen by Lestemix, will result in a Fury. Can never count out a Klina. Oni Fury not stolen away, though Lestemix had the ultimate on point. And that's a big swing now in this game, Trilly. Multiple kills and a Fury for the Aaru Scorpions.
Yeah, that was about as well timed as you can get on a steal opportunity from Lestemix. Just unfortunate that Davey was able to confirm that one with the auto attack, and the Scorpions win that fight massively there. I was interested as to what Masskill was going to be able to do with this different style of build. We saw the dominance after the hi-rez, which is not something I would have expected from the Fenrir. Got a bit of damage off and was able to get the re-pick onto Aprillium, but besides that, nothing really going the way of the Gladiators in that engagement. Just a well-timed Scarab's Blessing, as you called out there, from Preds, able to revive, and that was enough to keep the fight stalled a little bit, so that you have to use a second ult. You have to use Ragnarok onto this Nemesis. Probably not something you want to do on someone you already killed once, and then the Scorpions are able to just get all the pressure off that. Pyromancer should be going their way as well. A little early for a Fire Giant call. You don't have crit on the Jingwei yet, so the burn not gonna be going down quickly enough. Either way, the Scorpions can sort of force whatever they want right now, because looking at the opposition, Toddy's level 15, doesn't have really any damage online yet. That Wind Demon's still not gonna be coming through, so the Gilded Gladiators just can't match that DPS right now.
Right. Aaru Scorpions in a position where they can control the next few minutes. I mean, Fury is down for 3.5 minutes. Pyromancer longer than that. You're not going for a Fire Giant yet. So what the trap that some teams will fall into, I really feel like, is you got a nice lead here. You've got the momentum on your side. and they'll totally let off the gas for the next 4 or 5 minutes and let the Gilded Gladiators, in this case, who would be the Gilded Gladiators, stabilize. I wouldn't hate it if the Aaru Scorpions even just look for some picks, some invades, try to get the ball rolling a bit in that regard. They got good opportunities. Aprillium has not been shy as far as dropping an ult and maybe looking for tower dives. Preds is here as well. Toddy dashes away. The root will be beads out, but Toddy kind of sticks around here. Preds tanking up the tier 2 tower. There's still a tier 1 behind the Aaru Scorpions here that they're going to have to deal with. Masskill jumps in, no stun on this one, but a Ragnarok searching for a target. Grabs Preds, who has Scarab's Blessing, uses it on himself. But look out for Aprillium, who has found the backline. Preds will survive, but so will everyone on the Aaru Scorpions, unless Picorino's got enough damage. Doesn't. A lot of red and yellow health bars on the left and right side of the screen, but somehow all 10 players still on the map.
Yeah, Panvich does rotate around here, has the blink available, and Sodos is backing pretty low. Stemix has the healing to try and defend that tier 2 tower, but it will not be enough, so the Aaru Scorpions are able to get a tier 2. I guess that's exactly what you were calling for, right? Keep the aggression on, even though you can't pull Fire Giant yet. Try and push this lead a little bit more. If you can hit level 20 before all the members of the Gilded Gladiators, that's a massive power spike to get online before you look at this Fire Giant. So I think great heads up play by the Scorpions to say there's nothing we can really successfully pull here. Maybe we'll go for a gank on level 15 Shivalanke. Ends up getting both relics down, so that, and tier 2 tower, so that does net a ton on the side of the Scorpions. Now they can probably either try to regank or go for that Fire Giant, because I don't think Toddy's leaving lane for quite some time.
Love it. Love the play from the Scorpions. Because, you know, I still count the towers as a type of objective. It's not one of the neutral jungle objectives, right? But, like, instead of sitting on your hands for 5 minutes, hey, there's still something we can group up and look for. Now, it's a bit risky when you're full-on tower diving. That gives the Gladiator, especially with what was a much smaller gold lead, you're giving the Gladiators an opportunity. But I like it. The Scorpions taking a weighted, in their favor, dice roll a bit. And it pays off this time. Gets some more item spikes rolling. Picorino in a very strong spot now. Finish up Divine Ruin. Soul Reaver as well. Crit you were calling for Davey. That's there now. And Aprillium, sticking with the auto attack style of build here on the Nemesis, gets kin size, so the tankier targets are going to start to get shredded down. It's been so difficult to deal with Worst Turtle, Masskill, Systemic, strong as well. And when you got the Scarab's Blessing, you can play a bit more aggressive. Panvich, though, my goodness, that is a lot of damage from Masskill. Somersault Cloud will sustain up the Sun Wukong just fine. About 30 seconds away from the Fury. We're in the realm of burning down FG, though, so I think you got to make sure ward coverage is good enough on both sides of the map.
Yeah, I think the burn is also in favor of the Scorpions with all the Discordia abilities. Of course, if Sodos just chucks some, there's so many different elements that Merlin can use to just disrupt a Fire Giant pull as well, but if you're giving it to raw burst, it's got to go the way of the Discordia right now. Just so much damage already built, and you can usually time your abilities at the same time for a decent amount, as the Primal Fury will be up in about 3 seconds. We see Davey on the left side of the map, which tells me there's no need for the Scorpions to try and pull this Fire Giant just yet. As long as your ADC is not over there, it's probably not going to be on the cards, and it looks like the Gilded Gladiators recognize that as well and are putting a little bit more presence on the left, but Davey's backing here. We'll be able to fly in very quickly. And if I see him posturing towards the right side of the map, which it doesn't look like he will be, then I think maybe the Fire Giant on the cards for the Scorpions. But Primal Fury is still going to be looked at, right? The gold lead is not so massive to where the Gold Fury, or the Primal Fury rather, is not going to be contested. So the Gilded Gladiators are showing some face as well on this left side of the map. Maybe getting some vision, just getting prepared in case a pull goes through.
I'm actually surprised. Sodos, as we kind of predicted, maybe it has just been sitting back and farming up more effectively. Picorino 2 levels behind in mid, but the mid build still coming along just fine for this Discordia. Second, the top damage in the game, has our own passive by that metric. Staff of Mirrodin now in the build for the Discordia. My point in bringing that up is Davey also had a 2-level lead up to this point, but both Davey and Sodos, of course, level 20, so the experience gap going to start shrinking up there. And so I don't mind this from the Scorpions. Fight around the lead you've got built on the left side of the map. The Jingwei is just going to be so painful here. Primal Fury low, and confirmed by the Scorpions. Is there a fight after the fact, though? Masskill sure would like there to be, but won't take that leap in. Worst Turtle has just taken all of this damage, and nobody has jumped in on the Aaru Scorpions. Now there's a reinitiation because Sodos has found a pull and cleave damage across the back line of the Scorpions, but the Gilded Gladiators don't like their odds. Down a man. Sodos will beat and Aegis, but they time out, and so does the health bar. Mass kill into the Ragnarok to disengage. The Scorpions get Fury and 2.
2 for 0, and now the Scorpions can either back immediately and go for this Fire Giant or just start heading that way. Lestemix is full HP and has a blink available. This Kleena could hide in the wall on the objective and just make it absolutely miserable, and I think it seems like the Scorpions recognize that as well and won't go for that Fire Giant just yet, maybe just try to get the tower down. If this Kleena is dead or a little bit weaker, I think that objective goes a lot smoother. Pyromancer is pretty decent here. You don't have to go for the FG, you don't have to go for the massive objective that swings the game in your favor. Just go for something easy and simple, because giving the Gladiators an avenue back into this game, not something you want to go for.
Nope.
You just got a massive win there. Just take it and roll with it, as Davey just sits around just in case a Fire Giant pull goes through.
Yeah, smart from Davey, I think. It's already, the Gladiators knew that the Scorpions were low enough there, they're going to have to go back. Davey, just as an insurance policy in case the Gladiators tried a very sneaky and fast Fire Giant pull, though ward coverage, the one ward inside the Fire Giant pit, does belong to the Aaru Scorpions. How aggressive do you want to be if you're the Scorpions? That's the question now. Do you want to force a fight prior to the Fire Giant? Makes life a lot easier. Or do you feel like your time is now, you don't want to let the Gladiators catch back up? And that could be the option here. Some damage finds its way into the FG. The Gladiators are going to rotate over. Lestemix, of course, inside of the wall. Makes life difficult, as you mentioned. Trelly, another ultimate onto Worst Turtle. 2, in fact. Needs to be a kill to make that worthwhile. Out of Lurking in the Waters goes Worst Turtle. Frenzy gets popped. And Worst Turtle, indeed, will be the first to go down as Brillium finishes off the kill. 5 now in this game for the Nemesis. And another retreat, but a fantastic strike from Picarino keeps the Gladiators around a bit longer. And it's only the one. The low health bars means Aaru Scorpions now maybe have a simple pull on the Fire Giant.
This is twice now where Worst Turtle has went for the pluck, immediately got Nemesis ulted, shredded down, and essentially netted nothing. I understand that you want to try to be the initiator so that Mass Kill can find a clutch Ragnarok, but at that Gold Fury fight, the pluck was on to Davey, who can just simply dash out. Jingwei does not really care about any sort of knockups or knockbacks, anything like that. You can just dash out of it, and this time around, wasn't able to net anything either. So Mass Kill maybe had an opening where you had a bit where Picarino's beads were down. It's already gone, and now 7 seconds until those beads are back up. Nothing really that the Gilded Gladiators can do. This tier 2 will go down and just melt like butter. So Toddy's on the left side of the map trying to get some farm, trying to make sure to upgrade that starter so maybe you can afford some form of a defense. But the Scorpions just have all the cards right now. They can do whatever they want on this map. The lead is not terribly out of control. I mean, 9,000 in favor is something you don't really want to fight into, but not so much that the Gilded Gladiators can't say, all right, we'll take the fight under Phoenix. We're not going to fight you out of our Phoenix. We're not going to chase you down, even if we have a numbers advantage. But sitting under Phoenix, maybe trying to get a pull in with the Fenrir, could be the only avenue where the Gladiators have any form of fight back in this game.
What's your out of control metric? What gold lead do you officially say out of control?
Whenever I see 15K, that's my there should be no coming back.
And then it's just varying degrees of out of control until we get there. So we're not, what'd you say? We're not terribly out of control yet, but like we're approaching that mark. If another tower goes down, another team fight. Although tower and team fight to the Scorpions likely just mean game at this point. Phoenix and team fight rather. So we'll see if the Gladiators do indeed step up outside near this tier 2 tower, or the Phoenix line is their home. You want to hopefully get Pred, someone like that, out of sorts here and overextended in the same way Worst Turtle has been around these Phoenix defenses. I don't know. Yeah, smart pathing from Masco. I don't know if you even bother around this tier 2. It looks like Gladiators agree. They'll head back just into base. Relic situation looking okay for everyone. Everyone's got them ready to go. Everyone's got ultimates ready to go. About as even as far as cooldowns fight as you could possibly get. But build just looking so difficult. Panvich finishes off the Sun Wukong build with a Heart Seeker now. And so a couple of damage items, a couple tanky items, and then a damage item at the end. And that 204, the safety of the Sun Wukong, going to be hard to match. Oh no, has it happened again? Worst Turtle plucks in, doesn't get a pluck.
Brillium wasn't there, luckily.
Yeah, right.
If the shred was there, maybe he goes down.
I don't know. Luckily, able to stay alive, as Sobek always going to be a certain level of tanky, but Davey has found some uncontested autos onto Sodos, who will have to flicker away. Down half HP. None of the autos finding their way into the Phoenix, though. And so the Gladiators at least able to maintain health on the objective.
Preds no beads, though. With that missed pluck came a pre-beads from Preds, making sure not to get pulled back in. So if there is an opportunity that Masskill needs to grab a Ragnarok and pull someone in, that is your option. Trying to find this Khepri before the fight begins is your only chance, but Masskill wastes the jump there, and I think that's already done. You can't go for the ult anymore.
Brutalizes in, cancels it. Kind of slow goings here from the Aaru Scorpions. You don't have to force it, but you do only have 50 seconds remaining on your Fire Giant buff. So if you're going for a Phoenix Siege on this FG buff, this next wave may be the time to make it happen. It looks like a 5-man grouping in mid. Wave clear just fine for the Gilded Gladiators. Ultimate from Aprillium down onto Masskill, whose health bar is absolutely being shredded. Davey gets the damage onto Worst Turtle, though, on the other side of the fight. And another example of the Sobek going in, dying immediately. And now leaving the Gilded Gladiators in a 5v4.
And it looks like the left side Phoenix is going to be going away pretty quickly, as well as Picarino hiding around the corner. A lot of damage, but won't connect, so Toddy gets to live another day. 2 birds down, and this is where I would say the game's a bit out of control. I don't think the gold state changed too much there, but once you lose a bird or two, that's when that 10,000 gold starts to look even more daunting, because you're able to split the map so well. You're able to force fights where you always have the man advantage, because someone has to clear these fire waves. Someone has to be so far away from the Fire Giant that it's just not even possible to go for the defense. So map state definitely in question when talking about how far out of control is the game. And it looks like the Gilded Gladiators have to send someone over to the left, which usually means that Enhanced Fire Giant is going to go the way of the Scorpions for free, unless barring some miraculous steal trying to keep them in the game. Worst Turtle, not tanky enough to go for these plucks anymore. We've seen it time and time again where trying to engage, trying to be that pillar of hope for the squad. Hey, I got a clutch pluck. Maybe you guys can try and follow up with that, but this support is just not tanky enough to go for those plays. Only has 3 true tank items. The starter's not upgraded. That Genji's or Shogun's is not built either, so just not enough tank stats to try and survive these engages.
Right. Yeah, we've seen it 5 times, in fact. 0-5.
Now 0-6.
Unlucky for Worst Turtle. Right as you say it, it happens, and this might just end the game. Aprillium's got a double kill. All the dive is there, and the Gilded Gladiators won't be alive to see the Enhanced Fire Giant go down. Might not even need it to go down if you're the Aaru Scorpions at this point. You got fire minions pouring into the Gladiators base. 3 picks, Masskill and Sodos. They're going to try to gank the backline.
Set up something here. There's
the
Ragnarok.
Aaru Scorpions. Strife out, but now that the Aaru Scorpions know where Sodos and Masskill are, this game will come to an end, and the relatively new roster and the Aaru Scorpions seem resurgent, and in game 1 will knock down the Gladiators.
Oh my gosh, look at these minions. There was so many just going for the end there, so that will be a very quick end. I mean, not quick, it was 32 minutes long, but still a quick end to a well-fought performance from both squads. 3-1 ending up there was Masskill, so the Fenrir did find some avenues of success in the early game, but wasn't able to translate to much. It just seemed like there wasn't enough engage there for the Scorpions to try and find something. The gold lead did get a bit out of hand, and after that first Fire Giant, the map was just open wide. The Gilded Gladiators were able to force whatever they wanted.
A sudden end in what we thought might have been a lull of a moment. Enhanced Fire Giant coming back up. Bit of an overextension from the Gladiators in a tough game to be a Sobek, and the Aaru Scorpions will take game number 1. Game number 2 between the Scorpions and the Gladiators coming up next. Scorpions in just over 30 minutes of game number 1 that are able to take the win, take the advantage now in this set. 1 game away from the Aaru Scorpions, a team that struggled to find wins in the last phase of the SEC, starting 2-0 in this phase of the SEC. What a statement that would be from, again, a relatively new roster. Changes have been made, but the squad is looking pretty good here through 1 game. The Gilded Gladiators had opportunities early, unable to follow up. And I really think there's just kind of a switch flipped here, Trelly, where after, because the Gilded Gladiators got the first kill on the board. They had some answer backs early in some of those fights. A couple dives gone wrong for the Aaru Scorpions. But there was just that moment. It was, I think it was around that Fury fight where you get the Fury and like 3 kills. And it was just like a 2,000 gold lead. And the Scorpions just played with wind in their sails for the rest of the game.
Yeah, for me that fight went wrong when it just seemed like everyone was trying to burst down a Brillium. Brillium was diving the backline. You put a lot of damage into this Nemesis already. The hi-rez goes off, and then Maskill is forced to use that Ragnarok to re-kill the Nemesis. And at that point, it's just you've put way too much damage into one character, and then the Gold Fury goes down and so many kills after the fact. So just a worthwhile trade in favor for the Scorpions at that point. So they were able to translate that gold they got there to so much other pressure on the rest, and all of these fights started the same way after the fact, where Worst Turtle tried to get aggressive with these plucks and just simply didn't have the tank stats to back up that sort of pluck.
Man, Aprillium, really Nemesis. I mean, Aprillium obviously a very, very good game here, and then Davey was out trading Toddy, it felt like, throughout the laning phase. Nemesis just continues to be a force out of the jungle. I remember we did the jungler tier list, and they were talking about how important Nem was to the meta right now, and this is just another example of that. I liked what I saw from Maskill at points, but just never really got comfortable enough in jungle to counter out some of the dive that Aprillium was able to find. And Davey just so important at shredding down tanks, and it just happened to Worst Turtle over and over and over and over again. And when you get late enough in the game, yes, you want your Sobek to be tanky, but when you're 0-6 and 3 completed items and I guess a tier 2 completed, just not tanky enough to live through a full build Jingwei, full build Aprillium. Panvich, obviously a very good game here. I think this is just Aaru Scorpions getting a small bit of gold and really scaling it out of control.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I just sat down with the supports recently and did a tier list as well, and they valued Sobek very low. They said, can we put him in a tier below the lowest tier, just because of the fact
just
that
off the list.
Yeah, because of how good ADCs are right now, how good penetration is in this meta. Even if you're landing a pluck onto someone with beads, usually the backline's able to just shred you down as well. We saw it there. Even when the beads were forced, even when maybe Maskill could find a Ragnarok after the fact, Sobek just could not live after that engage.
Yeah, it was too tough for the Sobek to find anything this game. Worst Turtle left to die alone, felt like time and time again. So maybe in picks and bans for game 2, that's where we adjust some things up. Aaru Scorpions will be second pick again. Gilded Gladiators over in first pick. I don't know, though, Troy. After a game like that, I don't know if there was enough individual character standout that the Gladiators maybe feel like they have to take away from the Scorpions after game 1.
Yeah, the one thing I could see is the Nemesis being banned away. Not even because of how solid Aprillium was on it, just how solid it is right now in the meta, period. You don't want to deal with your tanks being shredded. Your tanks already aren't going to look that tanky because of the level disparity, so adding that extra bit of penetration is a bit of an issue, and it will be taken away by the Gladiators, so Aprillium will have to play something else, something different in the jungle. We've already seen the Mercury and the Kali being banned away as well, so neither of those will be on the table. And that King Arthur that was banned away, not going to be this time, so that's going to be the first pick spot.
Yep, left open in game 1, picked now here in game 2. Warriors again. Certain Warriors still have their place over in the solo lane. We've still seen some variety of styles. We even saw Sun Wukong in our last game, still clean and important. But remember, King Arthur has just been a mainstay as far as Warriors go in this meta, even with a lot of the other strong picks that we've seen. So no surprise that once King Arthur is not banned, will get let through, get picked up now by the Gilded Gladiators. But a couple potentially strong answers here for the Aaru Scorpions, Troy. Of course, Kepri and the Scarab's Blessing, massive, especially for Aprillium in that game. Nem dives just being facilitated, knowing there's a Scarab's Blessing. Bakasura, not all that different of a playstyle, it seems like. Of course, the kit a little bit different, but jumping in and auto-attacking the name of the game.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. That seems to be the playstyle the Scorpions want, us to be able to facilitate Aprillium, so you can dive as much as you want. There's a King Arthur who has a lot of different, dashes and movement abilities. The Baka Cripple Goo will deal with vastly all of that.
Excuse me?
The Baka Cripple Goo.
I hated that.
You could call it. I used to call it vomit. J-Mac didn't like that.
I think I'd rather be Vomit than
Cripple Goo?
than Crippled Goo.
I mean, it's goo.
It's effectively the same thing, I suppose.
The idea is King Arthur can't use his abilities because he's crippled in the whatever you want to call the liquid, if you will. So King Arthur.
Maybe we're realizing now there's just no gentle way of putting that. You kind of gotta be a little weird when you just what's the actual name?
Regurgitate is what it's called.
Oh, I hate that.
That's what I said. I mean, there's no good way
worse.
to talk about it. I have to analyze this.
I hate that worse than Vomit and Cripple Goo. So you know what, Trelly? You did your job well. You steered me clear of Regurgitate, which is somehow the worst of all of the options. Xing Chen, that's a bit surprising here. Outside of the meta from what we've seen up to this point. Feels like, obviously if this ends up in support, which it should.
Right.
I mean, you're different from a Sobek, and then you got kind of this double leap. You can get in and out. But are you worried that it could fall to the same demise that a Sobek did? You get in, you look for Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, you burn the beads, and then you're just getting shredded down by a Jingwei.
Right. I think the Xing Chen is a lot safer. You have 2 different movement abilities and a CC immune ult. You have Furious Roar, which stops the auto attack damage, or at least makes it much less. You're up against 2 different ADCs in the sense of a Baka and a Jingwei, so that Furious Roar is going to get a lot of value. If you are worried about getting shredded down, that's going to help out. But I got to talk about Ao Kuang, man, because that is not a good pick right now. There's just you can't build Golden Blade, which means you're farming worse. You're going to hit level 5 later. You're not going to be able to use that gank opportunity. It's a good answer. The execute, that's about all you got. That's all I can say.
No, I appreciate it. It is not the best pick there is. The Aaru Scorpions going into game number 2 here. 1 game in hand, potentially a stronger draft over the Gilded Gladiators. But remember, it is play on field. Of course, 100%. assisted by hopefully a good draft. And we'll see if the Aaru Scorpions, with potentially a superior draft here, can close out this set in 2-0 fashion. And so, are your eyes on the jungle here, Trelly? Do you think that's where this matchup could make or break?
100%. I mean, Mazkill, if you're going to pick something like Ao Kuang, you got to stand out. You can't sit back and say, I'm just going to farm in the meantime until something happens. You have to force fights, and you have to look, at the people that don't have beads. At the moment, that's just a Prillium. Are you going to win that 1v1 right now? No. Late game, maybe. If you're even... You have to actually be ahead, I would say, to beat the Bakasura in that 1v1 because you just...
I don't know why you want to feed him. He's just going to regurgitate it back up.
Regurgitate is just too much of a potent 1v1 fighting tool.
Don't let me yuck your yum here, Trelly. If you love...
I don't love it.
The Cripple Goo or Vomit or whatever.
I want you to know that's my 3rd iteration of trying to say that ability since we've seen Baka in the meta.
Yeah, it's unfortunate you're the one who's got to...
Yeah.
Got to analyze it, right?
At first I said the Vomit and JMac didn't like it, so I said the Cripple Goo.
But again, I don't think there's any winning there.
There's no tasteful way to talk about him throwing up everywhere.
I think you've got to stick with what you can live with saying. Yeah. And don't let me or JMac or Gore, if he's chair winning, tell you how to live your life. If Cripple Goo just sits a bit better with you, then that's your... I was gonna say,
that's my prerogative.
That's the word I'm looking for. Go for it, Trelly. I'll let you decide as this game goes on. Picorino low here. Masco and Soto certainly have the range advantage now. You got a Bakasura in mid, and then Discordia can throw out some of those abilities. Range advantage could be important here. Soto's looked fine on the Merlin. Never really got an opportunity to pop off in a lot of those fights. Felt like constantly was fighting down a man. Thoth, very popular for a while. Of course, has some of the movement ability, get out of the fight, can't get in, can slow down, some initiation. What do you think makes Thoth the right pick here for Sotos?
It's going to be difficult to survive. Sotos wants to stay as far back as possible and just provide range damage, some solid burst, that sort of thing. But with a Blink Baka, with a Kepriol, there's not enough peel in the world to really keep Sotos alive in the later stage of the game. Right now, though, just outranging your opponents and constantly being able to clear and poke out a Prillium as we're seeing. It's going to always benefit a little bit. Maskill, though, has no sort of mana to help out, so those right camps will go down. And maybe even an invade if Prillium feels obligated to try and steal away something here because the Ao Kuang just can't match that pressure. Has no sort of mana. There's no way you can help out. So I imagine to see that Baka just follow the Ao Kuang wherever he wants to go, and that's what's happening.
Yep, sticking right on Maskill. Would love to help Listimics drop this blue buff, but Prillium in Panvich not only have the transformation advantage right now, but have the mana advantage around that objective. And it looks like gets dropped just fine by the Aaru Scorpions there. Davey looked good later on in the game, of course, as we highlighted on this Jingwei. And a difference for the Gladiators, to be fair, as we talked about in picks and bans. We're in support. Soto's happy that Picarino doesn't have ultimate. Naturally, Picarino probably happy as well. Both mid laners able to exchange and poke. Wonder, because we didn't see, we saw a little bit of emphasis from the Aaru Scorpions into Toddy in game number 1, but a lot of it was just Davey trying, setting up the 1v1s, things like that. Wonder if we might see some jungle pressure over here on this side of the map this game. Though to your point, difficult when you got the Scarab's Blessing, couple sets of beads. I wonder if the Aaru Scorpions maybe send some pressure over here, because we haven't seen much in the last 30-so minutes of play.
Worst Turtle stole that purple and is just standing
there.
Oh, did
he? I thought
just
Davey
standing
picked it
there.
up.
No, that's still the original purple buff because the green buff extends your purple timer.
Oh,
but
of course.
Yeah, Worst Turtle
it.
has the purple and is just sitting there taunting as Toddy was able to solo that one away. So at least getting some farm in their pocket at the moment.
I'm farming up damage at that point.
Yeah,
Worst Turtle's going to steal and stand in front of me.
Yeah, might as well just poke him down. I think they realize, we're just wasting our time here. They don't want to clear the wave because they don't want it to push too far. They have no sort of presence. They're not going to hit level 5 for a bit because that buff was taken. So probably not wanting that wave to die on their side of the map. Just sitting there and waiting as it does start pushing in there. So I'm expecting to see wherever the Bakasura is, that's where the aggression should be, right? Wherever Aprillium goes with this level 5 Blink ultimate, there should be some aggression to be found. And because that blue buff was taken away as well on the right side, Listemix not going to have too much mana sustain, at least for right now. There's so many abilities you have on the King Arthur that you want to be spamming. At least a totem goes down on your side, so you got some MP5.
Grabs the coup, as important as that is. Mass kill. Sends some damage towards Aprillium, but yeah, Aprillium feeling just fine in that trade. Tier 2 Doomorb up against the Golden Blade. Means Aprillium feeling okay. Invade looked at again. Regurgitate is down. And Worst Turtle is rotated over from the duo lane. A jump out from Aprillium. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel charged up. Aprillium doesn't have beads. Would have been a good target. Mass kill, though, goes back in. He's just roared at by Panvich. What happens there? Preds is able to grab first blood. Mass kill. Maybe think he could sneak in. Get the kill there onto Aprillium, but doesn't work out.
I see the thought process. He thought, I'm going to go into the Water Illusion, I'll be invis, no beads available on the Spaka, no jump, I can easily get the execute, get out, but clearly was called out. Hey, there's an invis Alquang, just be ready to blink when you see him, and easy blink for blink trade, and the Alquang goes down. This is absolute worst case scenario. You don't want anyone dying on your team, but if you want someone dying, you do not want it to be your Alquang. At least Preds gets credit for that kill. So the first blood goes the way of the Khepri. You don't have to worry about any damage online, but again, this Alquang's such a difficult pick to make work because you can't farm as quickly, you can't really get as active. Your 1v1's never going to be that solid against most of the junglers, the physical junglers, I should say right now. So I gotta say, Masskill's got a steep hill to climb here to try and get active on this Alquang. The only shimmering light that I've already highlighted is you have that Khepri res that you can just bite, and say that you're not getting revived. I can simply cancel the revive. That's about it. Right now, Masskill shouldn't be trying to force anything anymore.
Masskill was second to last on the XP per minute chart a second ago. Even Preds, technically more XP. All right, so at least Masskill has jumped over Preds, the Aaru Scorpions support. But on the flip side of that, Aprillium, a nice 2-level lead in the jungle. Been tier 2 Doomorb for a hot minute now for Masskill. He's zooming around the map, but not quite zooming up the farm in the same way that Aprillium has been able to. Charon's Coin again for Soto's out of mid, and again a Warlock Staff for Picarino. So the scaling can begin for both of these characters. But again, if you're Sotos, you're hoping that the fights start and the fights are starting to go your way to get those stacks on the Charon's Coin. Picarino just needs to sit and farm. Blue buff up, and wouldn't you guess it, the Aaru Scorpions are here. It looks like it gets picked up by the Aaru Scorpions as well. So another successful invade. Oh, and this is just brutal. Masskill's got to go back while his blue buff and his jungle starts getting taken away. Look, you don't want to make any sweeping statements before the game has really had a chance to go, but the writing as far as jungle farm goes is kind of on the wall right now, and Aprillium just doing what Aprillium pleases here in Game 2.
Yeah, that's just what Baka does, and unfortunately it's just what Alquang does. When your farm gets contested, you sort of have to curl up and say, all right, that's yours. I'll go somewhere else. There's no farm to be had. The one thing that Ao Kuang always has been solid about is camping solo laners without beads, and there is none of those because Panvich is never gonna have to beads. No one's forcing this Kukulin's beads. If King Arthur gets a few ults, Panvich says, "Hey, I've got the Stone of Gaia. I have the HP regen. I'm not stressing that, and we'll continue to sit in this lane just fine." So Maskill has no designated target to go for. You can go into the duo lane, but that's a Jing Wei who can fly away from you at any moment, and in mid. I mean, you don't do enough damage to try and poke down Picarino at this point. So I expect to see Maskill doing a lot of this, farming the camps that aren't contested, things like the green buff, things like the back camps, and that's all you really can do on this pick. Unfortunately, Golden Blade junglers are in the meta right now for a reason. They just farm faster.
Love being relegated to green buff as a jungler. That feels fantastic in the first 8 minutes of the game. Finally finishes up the Doom Orb. Don't want to take it away. I mean, there are opportunities. Execute's important for Maskill as the game goes on. Now a chance to get something going against Picarino. Stripe doesn't hit. Just simply not enough damage. Picarino's going to walk away from that feeling okay. Bakasura is able to go back, buy up a full stone cutting sword. So a full stone cutting sword is now the advantage for Aprillium. Maskill has not wanted to take that 1v1, but definitely now not feeling comfortable in that. And it's starting to be rotation time from Preds. You can help out around this blue buff should you choose. Finally, a blue buff for Listimics as the last 3 or 4 have been contested.
Oh no.
Maskill hoping to get the big harpy here, but Aprillium just has too much damage. A crumb of damage is all that the Aaru Scorpions needed to get a kill onto Maskill, but Maskill will survive. Now Listimics can rotate out of solo. Worst Turtle, Sotos, they're here as well, but Maskill sticks around. Have to be careful, and Apple onto the head of Sotos, and Preds another kill in this game. The Khepri starting to roll just a bit. That's a good whirlwind from Worst Turtle to send 2 back. I'm not sure the one that I want sent back is Bakasura, low or not. Aaru Scorpions get another clean pick.
Yeah, I think Aprillium could have dove that so easily, especially with this Khepri ult. You easily could have just been able to find the pick because the one you're killing is the Ao Kuang. That's not the person that is going to... The execute stopper will be the one who dies. Either way, they were able to pick up another kill on Pred. So the true ADC of this squad, the Khepri, is now 2-0 and just getting more and more tank stats online. That's really the benefit we're being able to see here.
Have you ever seen a damaged Khepri build?
I have. I've seen.
I mean, you've played a lot of Smite,
right.
so I'm sure you've seen it before. Have you ever seen a damaged Khepri build work?
Yeah. It really depends on, I guess.
What deals the damage? The dot?
It's your 2, but usually I think the auto attack Khepri is what is the best.
What do you build? Just rings? And
yeah, you build the rings, you hit the root, you just start smacking the claws around. You can use the abduct just for fun, and then
that tracks.
It works out a little bit if you can just get ahead. If you can just snowball, I think a damage Khepri could work. And right now, Preds has no real fear of dying because that heart word is coming through.
Oh, so you want to see auto? He has no fear of dying, so you want to see the ring build Khepri.
Yeah, show me the Shoguns. You know, throw a demonic in there, shred for your team. You can spin it in a way that helps your carries, but also it's just so you can get in there and get more active, I think.
Yeah, right. Of course, I'm supporting you by providing more damage. You guys have to do less. We kill them faster now, so you're under less risk of dying. That's how I would spin that. Aaru Scorpions not under much risk of dying anyway. They are closing in on 3,000 gold in the lead at 11 or so minutes. Remember, it took a Fury fight and then the Fury itself to give the Aaru Scorpions like any sense of a lead in game 1, and that was a couple minutes from where we stand now. And the Scorpions, look, even through one game that I've seen this new roster play, have shown that they're not scared of pushing these leads instead of hanging back. You know, there's a Fury up, there's a Pyromancer up. Let's grab these objectives. Once the Pyromancer goes down, we'll still look for invades, still look for fights. They made the Scorpions a lot more threatening in game 1. That said, still got to be careful. And the Gilded Gladiators showing some face around the Pyro means the Scorpions will not confirm that objective.
Yeah, but now just back to the old farm game, and you know, I've been, let's say, roasting the Ao Kuang pick a fair bit, but there is an avenue where it just is able to kill everything, and it's about, I'd say right now, 28 minutes into the game. If you can at least hit level 20 by that point, there is an opportunity for this Ao Kuang to just simply outbox everyone as long as you're not getting one shot by the Jing Wei crit. So, you know, there still is some time for that to come online and be active. Aprillium, though, he's looking for Listemics here. The beads are available, but a lot of damage for Baka.
Say it with me, Trilly. The cripple goo is down, and Listimics, yeah, worse off for it. That's what happens to a King Arthur when you get regurgitated on. Oh no, it's not going any better over in the mid lane. Worst Turtle falls as well. One by one across the map, Gilded Gladiators walk in, and even in what should be an advantageous fight, it was a 2v1 over on right, so you should have the numbers somewhere else. Gilded Gladiators just not able to find it. Now everyone but Toddy has gone down. Both Hunters chilling out just fine, but the Aaru Scorpions definitely looking more comfortable. Grab a little bit more gold. Still a Gold Fury to be taken.
Yeah, they're just massive leads everywhere, except for, as you highlighted, in the duo lane. And when this set started, I said this Gilded Gladiators roster likes to play through Toddy, likes to let Toddy get online, or at least left on an island and says, hey, you can come in and provide the damage we need, sort of play that carry style that ADCs like to do in the later stage. So they're not too, I'm not going to say they're certainly not happy about this situation, but they're not too unaware of what is going on here. They're able to keep Toddy at least level 14, staying level, so that's a good option. I just think that it's going to start to get a little bit out of control how much damage Aprillium is able to do, where Maskill simply cannot match it. And right now, a 3-level lead in the jungle is about that point where you say, you know, I don't want to step up to even a Gold Fury fight at this point.
That's actually pretty brutal for Maskill, because it was 2 levels for a while, remember, and actually closed up to a 1-level lead just a second ago. Maskill was able to shrink that gap now to 3. Somehow gotten worse, and will continue to get worse as a Gold Fury for the Aaru Scorpions confirmed. And so really, Trelly, it's these next few minutes. There's no Pyromancer, there's no Gold Fury. Can the Scorpions continue to push that advantage is ultimately my question. And we saw some of it in Game 1. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit more of it here in Game 2. You got Blink in 20 seconds for Aprillium. You got an ahead jungler. Play around that, and maybe it's a good avenue to a quick win here in Game 2.
Yeah, and looking at Listemix's build, doesn't have too much physical protection, just the Glad Shield is online, and that's a level 16 Bakasura, 3 levels ahead of your solo laner. So I imagine Aprillium could just go over to right lane, but you can see where Listemix is positioning, not too far out of that tier 2 tower, never, you know, suscepting himself to that gank opportunity, as Worst Turtle might be in some trouble, but the Abduct misses.
Yeah, but do you need the Abduct? I was going to say when you have a Strife, you need one of the two at least. And call it skill, whatever you want to call it. Worst Turtle not hit by any of the crowd control that the Aaru Scorpions needed to connect. Probably would have been a kill there. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel would have delayed things out, but not much. And when the going gets tough, maybe you got to make plays like this. Send Maskill over on the far left. No ward coverage there, of course. This really is like how good of an actor is Toddy, right? Like how well can Toddy sell?
Let's see
this moment. Oh, Davey gonna take some damage. Uses the beads.
Maskill has done nothing
just
yet.
Hovering.
And it's just gonna take some farm and leave.
Take some farm and leave. And what feels tough there, of course, for Maskill, is you're really hoping that a moment like that can work, Trelly, and bear with us. We'll get this all sorted out very quickly. What you're really hoping for, if you're Maskill there, they're like, that's gotta pay off, right? You're already so far behind. In the meantime, the Bakasura is farming up just fine. Right. You're like, this is worth it if I get a kill. And then there's just no opportunity. Yeah,
you have to imagine Maskill was quite literally sitting there, just holding tab, looking at the gold go up for Baka, like, all right, I've wasted 30 seconds here, Davey. Still not, like, it still hasn't showed up. I'm going to wait a little bit longer. Okay, the gank opportunity is here. I see you got the ult. Okay, he beads, and you look over, and there's a Khepri. And you're like, all right, well, can I just sap the wave and I'll just go. I'm done. Look over.
Please. And I can't imagine there's anyone who wants their farm stolen less in this game than ADCs at the moment, right? Like they are just on a sprint to hit level 20. Mm-hmm. This is, of course, a very small moment in this game, but kind of funny because it's the latest thing we saw. Again, appreciate your patience. We'll get Game 2 back and going as soon as we possibly can. On the flip side, look, we have put a lot of emphasis into jungle in this matchup.
Right.
I think Preds deserves a lot of love. When you compare the effectiveness of maybe it was efficacy, I don't know, Miff is yelling at me. He's really got those two figured out. I sure don't. When you look at Preds versus Worst Turtle and the way the supports have been able to find impact in these last 2 games now, it's been so simple for Khepri, but like the impact has just been there, and Worst Turtle struggled a bit.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Khepri's been the damage dealer. He's
got a couple
he's
kills.
got all the kills at this point, so not only has he been able to keep his team alive, I don't even think the Scarab's blessings, there hasn't been too many, and if they were, they weren't really necessary. We haven't seen the actual full revive either way. The Khepri's just always positioning well with the team. We've seen, as we've been talking about the jungle so much, I mean, there's just so much pressure from this Bakasura.
Well, the Gilded Gladiators need a bit of a breather here in game number 2 to get their feet back underneath them. What am I thinking? They're out of sorts is what I'm trying to say. Get their feet back underneath them. I'm apparently out of sorts as well. Myself, the Gilded Gladiators, Trelly, all of us. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with game 2. All I got is good news for you guys. Not only are we going right back into game, you don't have to see my face. The bad news is you don't get to see Trelly anymore because we are indeed right back into game. Bad news again for Gilded Gladiators that Worst Turtle has immediately died upon resume of game number 2. So now the Xingqian feeling maybe just as punished as the Sobek was previously in game 1. An opportunity for Listemics on the double knockup. But Aprillium will jump out just fine. Now Maskill blinks forward. There's your kill. And down goes Aprillium. Just what the doctor ordered for the Gilded Gladiators.
Yeah, that is going to be pretty solid as Toddy is getting very dove underneath this tier 2 tower, and it looks like the Trebuchet is going to send some damage the way of this tower as well, but survives, and a kill onto Maskill is just what the doctor ordered. This is who needs these kills at this point. This is who needs some damage online. You have the Telkine's Ring, you got the Doom Orb. I think Maskill 2 items away from being able to really impact these fights and just absolutely shred down the tanks on the side of the Scorpions. But since we have some time before any real objectives are up, Pyromancer's about to spawn in, but that Primal Fury on the left, still a few minutes away. I'm expecting to see some no more aggression, I should say, from the Gilded Gladiators. They got that 1 pick, they're able to back off, and I think that's good enough for them right now.
Wow. And look at the swing. Not only a kill, but it's onto Aprillium, and it's given just free farm time to Maskill. Was a 3-level lead a bit ago, now down to 1 level. And so the Tides, I don't know if I'm saying they're turning just yet. You're still at 6,000 gold behind.
They certainly rotated a bit.
Yeah, they have shifted.
Yeah.
Tide's turning. Is that just like high tide going to low tide?
I think that would be what it's called. So this is more of a
really
high tide going.
Is that like a sailor thing where you're saying like the tide wasn't pushing us in the direction we needed to go, and now the tide is turning, like physically, literally changing direction? Pyromancer confirmed by the Aaru Scorpion, by the way. At any rate, I don't think the tides have completely flipped in favor of the Gilded Gladiators if we're running with that metaphor. However, the necessary movement of the water this occurring for Masskill to have an impact on this game, at least over the next couple of minutes. Tier 1 tower could be an opportunity for the Scorpions here. Very, very low. A couple auto attacks knock that one down. And you have to look at the Primal Fury, potentially the next objective for the Aaru Scorpions as well. And that's, I think, where the Gladiators have to be careful. Can you contest? Sure. But what you don't want is a game 1 repeat where you lose the Fury and then 4 players and then the game is effectively done.
Yeah, at least being able to see that Aprillium is backing, the Gladiators know that they have a bit of time to get set up for this Primal Fury. But I did get confirmation that it's about the turning of the tides is a reference to the tides going from low to high. So it is about the height of the water.
Got it. Okay. So physically, I guess that was always the most simple option.
Right.
And I was overcomplicating it, making it some weird sailor metaphor. My fault. Primal Fury, though, pulled by the Gladiators, actually. And Primal Fury confirmed by the Gladiators. Disengage. You gotta get out now. You've gotten the objective. Can you get out cleanly? That is maybe a dropped ball by the Aaru Scorpions. You are so far ahead in this game. And Masskill, unfortunately, won't be able to live.
So they picked up the ball a bit.
They picked it up a bit, right. The tides turned a little bit back to the Aaru Scorpions. They have a hand on the ball, they just haven't completely lifted it back up. But does it now fully shift the tide back to the Scorpions?
They brought a fire hose
Giant
over to Fire Giant, it seems.
Right.
They want the tides in their favor. Lystemix is here, and they're just trying to burn this down. They could go for a pick, but now they're going to go to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same threat as around the Primal Fury if you're going to defend. You gotta try to be safe about it. Worst Turtle is low here. Should be enough damage, but is there enough gap close? Pred's no good on the abduct. That'll put him in an awkward spot. Scarab's Blessing still around, but not used. And so, what was a risky call from the Aaru Scorpions, not punished, and the Scorpions able to stay on the map, and the Gilded Gladiators end up getting a clean Primal Fury.
This is what I was worried about during that last fight, is how many ultimates the Scorpions used to try and disengage. Lystemix is blinked back in, and the Fire Giant's very low. It doesn't look like Sotos' ult is back up.
This is chaos. Aprillium is going to help out Picarino. And finally, a kill falls onto this King Arthur. Is maybe not the most physical defense, but tanky enough to stay in a lot of these fights. Worst Turtle goes up and over the Strife. There's an apple on the other side. Pred's gunned down, though, by Sotos. His final judgment hits its mark. And there was never a chance for the Scarab's Blessing. Masskill rotates in as well, as Toddy connected with an ultimate on Panfitch. So the Gilded Gladiators actually finding some fight back here in Game 2. It has not completely changed the game, but it has slowed down the Aaru Scorpions.
Yeah, no Fire Giant pull, I think, is the real benefit there, because the Scorpions, they lost the gold. They used a lot of ults to do it, and they didn't really get much for it except for that pick onto Masskill. They didn't have the health bars to try and pull the Fire Giant after the fact. And they didn't, they were more so looking for a pick there. So 2 for 2 and no Fire Giant going down, probably in favor of the Gladiators in that case. Obviously 7,000 plus gold in favor for the Scorpions still, but in the fighting sense of the word, they're still happy with that going down in the way it did. Just losing the Gold Fury is about as worse as they got. So now more time for the Scorpions to try and farm up here, buff your damage, and just play through this Bakasura at this point. Whenever the Blink ult goes in, that's your best engage. If it's not available, you're not looking for too much, unless, of course, Picarino hits a massive Strife and just massive setup.
I was going to say, I mean, so much of our emphasis has been on the jungle because that's where a lot of the lead has built up. Picarino's also 3 levels ahead at 5-0-1 on this Discordia. The kills have been connecting, top damage in the game as well. And so while eyes have been on Aprillium and Bakasura, because that's just kind of been the fun thread to follow, Picarino has been picking up a lot of the kills here as of late, and now in such a strong spot. Staff of Mirrodin, a popular item for mid laners and other solo lane style mages alike from what we've seen here recently. It's going to fill out this build nicely. Picarino maybe as big a threat on the map as Aprillium is up to this point. So no Fury. Pyromancer will be here shortly. But the Scorpions were fine pulling this FG a second ago despite the Gladiators being close by. If you can find a single pick, which might be here onto Sotos, who has to use the beads and dash away. Probably Pyromancer, the easier of the two, but don't be surprised if the Scorpions threaten the Fire Giant.
Yeah, there should be some opportunity for engage now that Soto's beats are down, but Fire Giant will be looked at first. You have to try and CC this off because so much steal potential in Final Judgment as it looks like Lystemix is trying to frontline here, but the Scorpions, they're not DPSing either. They don't want to 50-50 this.
Abduct onto Lystemix. Strife hits as well. Aprillium And a jungle 1v1 on the left. Listemics, 3-man stun. Aprillium low, but Scarab's Blessing well timed. Gladiators have their best looking fight of the game so far, but Worst Turtle is overextended and has to leave. Ultimate used as well as disengage. Tense moments here. Scorpions with the lead, but they've just been getting chunked down. Listemics has been a pain on the front line here. 3-man stun really delays that fight.
Yeah, Davey was full HP the whole time, so Jingwei was rarely looked at in that engagement, and Toddy was trying to answer back with some damage as well, did end up using the bead. So still some opportunities to find kills, but nothing's going to go by the wayside just yet. It seems like the Gilded Gladiators are playing this exactly as they have to. They're not stepping up unless the Fire Giant is looked at. They're not overextending trying to find a pick. They just want to put the brakes on a little bit, stall this objective as much as possible, trying to get some core items online. Looking at the builds, you really want 1 or 2 more items on Sotos. You would love if Maskill could finish what I can only assume is the Typhon's Fang, trying to get some more % pen online, things like that. Those are going to start to add up those power spikes, and now the stall has been good enough that the Oni Fury is respawning, and it looks like we'll be going the way of the Scorpions because the Gilded Gladiators are grouped in a mid-wave at the moment.
And there is ward coverage for the Scorpions over on right, so no sneaky Fire Giant pull for the Gilded Gladiators. Remember, at this point, because the way Game 1 ended was effectively an overextension before the Fire Giant even got pulled. That's what you need to avoid here if you're the Gilded Gladiators. It's Picarino hovering close by. Again, a speedy Alquang with speed buff and Doom Orb. Preds blinks forward, abduct onto Listemics, ultimate down from Aprillium as well. Worst Turtle left alone. Whirlwind sends the Bakasura back, but there's a Scarab's Blessing down. And so, procced or not, Aprillium will survive this fight, but again, it's a jump in and no kill. That's a big difference from Game 1 to this game, where Aprillium on the Nemesis was getting in, getting a kill, and then Scarab's Blessing out. It's been a lot of getting in, but no killing here as of late. Early on, just fine, but as of late, Gladiators have stayed alive.
Yeah, Aprillium keeps trying to go for these tanks. I don't think the best option. Just CC the tanks in front of you while the Bakasura blinks to the back line. Probably a better option for raw damage. As we see, the Baka still hasn't joined in on the fight, so this Fire Giant pull is certainly a bait. Worst Turtle doesn't have the ultimate, though, is trying to frontline like he does.
Abducted into the Strife. Listemics hasn't taken much damage despite being in the Strife. Pred's halfway back to getting the Scarab's Blessing on the map. And this is a tense fight. I think you can tell the Gladiators realize, like, one more big lost team fight, especially around the Fire Giant, might just end the game as you're getting to the mid to late 20s mark as far as time goes. But the Scorpions also playing a bit more cautiously. You know, the experience gaps have closed up, and Stemix has reached level 20 before Panvich has. Both Hunters equal. It's really the mid builds where things feeling different. Jungle builds, of course, still feeling fine for the Aaru Scorpions. Not as guaranteed, though, I don't think, as things were a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, and it looks like Maskill was able to hit 20 and back for that Seer of the Jungle. More vision and just more damage on this Alquang is always going to help out your squad. Again, I think that the engage that the Scorpions have been going for, very similar to last game, was let's just ult the tanks, and then once they're dead, the backline will be easier to get to. They don't have the prod shred that Nemesis brought. They have true damage on Aprillium, but it's simply not as much as just shredding for the whole team. The Executioner helps, but it's just not enough to shred through these tanks right now. Worst Turtle is a little low and jumps in, but Preds misses the pull.
Soto's not Final Judgment yet. Doesn't have Final Judgment yet. We'll get it back in just a moment. Does now. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel now down. Davey still doing damage to the FGs. Listemics, Worst Turtle, Mass Kill hovering close by. A nice Strife onto Worst Turtle, and Apple onto his head as well. TKO. Now the Xing Qin has to be out of the fight. Health or not, Maskill goes around the backside of the Fire Giant pit. Again, the Gilded Gladiators are cleaving all of this damage, but up to this point it kept everyone alive. That has been remedied. Maskill down, and the Aaru Scorpions finally, after 3 or 4 attempts, will get their pick.
And Preds, the ADC of the Aaru Scorpions, is the one who gets credit. So 3-1 is this Khepri right now.
Second most kills in the game.
Yep, that's what you want to see at level 18. But finally a kill onto one of the carries in the sense of the jungle on the Gilded Gladiators, and that has to spell disaster for the Gilded Gladiators. That's got to be a free
Fire
Giant
pull,
at
right?
this point. If the Aaru Scorpions aren't able to find something off of this, I mean, it'll just go back to the drawing board, and at that point the Gilded Gladiators will just have too much of an advantage advantage. You still have some key ultimates up, and Final Judgment and Lystemix has some solid CC as well, but Preds is frontlining here, not to pull the Fire Giant just yet, but to look for another pick possibly.
Of course, you're worried about Final Judgment as far as steal potential goes as well. Big burst damage from Sotos could delay out this game even further. So you'd love to either get that down, get a pick onto the Thoth. But, yeah, you know, Maskill is back and respawned. You keep getting these abducts onto Lystemix, but Lystemix is just so tanky. This time, though, finally meets his demise if you're the Aaru Scorpions. An ultimate out from Toddy, or Bifrost out, rather. Keeps him just fine on the map. Didn't have ultimate.
Maskill's here.
All right, so we got another pick, this time onto Lystemix, but Maskill is now back on the map. Health bar is a bit low for the Aaru Scorpions.
He has to execute, though, and the Fire Giant's getting very low.
Oh, it's low, and the Aaru Scorpions confirm the FG. Aprillium, the Scarab's Blessing is perfect from Preds, and Aprillium lives. Sotos was close by. It's going to be Fire Giant +4 for the Aaru Scorpions.
Maskill used the Water Illusion to try and kill Aprillium. Beautiful res by Preds to make sure that Scarab's Blessing comes through. And then use the ult onto Preds, who was not even close to Threshold. I think maybe a fat finger or just a misclick input there. Unfortunate, Maskill had a chance to get some Fire Giants off or maybe even get up into the sky, but too many beads available if you're looking all of them. So even if that ultimate did connect, I don't think there was any chance the Dragon was coming through. So beautiful answer back. The Aaru Scorpions have the Fire Giant. They're 5 strong. That right Phoenix is being looked at, while even the mid Phoenix is being looked at here. So massive win for the already massive Aaru Scorpions, who are up 14,000 gold before that Fire Giant even got pulled.
You're not going to get a much easier mid-Phoenix siege either here. Maskill and Sotos back in 5 seconds. I think you got to go in, force this objective down, and if you can stagger out some kills, potentially end the game. Worst Turtle, rooted in place, but is able to jump away. Now you're going to reset if you're the Aaru Scorpions. This has been an absolute whale of a game for Picarino. Again, all of the conversation earlier around the jungle because Aprillium was controlling things. 35,000 damage from Picarino, 10,000 higher than anyone else in this game, untouched on the Discordia. Picarino's really putting it all together here. And though the kit is somewhat simple from Discordia, Strife, big line damage, apple on their head, Picarino's been doing it well.
Yeah, I think the whole squad has been setting up for the Discordia very well in the sense of, you have a very telegraphed engage of abduct into the goo, if you will, and then Panvich hits a nice knock-up. And then Picarino just gets so much CC to throw abilities at.
I won't, by the way.
Well, I will, because I have to.
You're right.
And Picarino has been able to throw the apple and say, hey, go group up with your team. It'll spread the damage out even better. All these sort of things are going into why so much damage is on the side. And it looks like the Gilded Gladiators are going for something. They need a miracle play, as Preds is going to walk up first.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to.
Oh,
no. No. The last thing you want to see is that. Toddy makes it into the Bifrost. Now the Gilded Gladiators are jumped on. Maskill dies. Worst Turtle soon to follow. Toddy is also fallen here. And the Aaru Scorpions are able to spring the trap, but the Gilded Gladiators, the one trapped at the end of the game. Aprillium will end this game with a double. So will Panvich, and the Aaru Scorpions back in the win column.
Yeah, it's just such. It seems to be every play that these teams go to is when the going gets tough, when your back's against the wall, 2 birds down, you're down 20,000 gold almost at this point. You got to go for that trap somewhere in the enemy jungle, and Preds was just very much onto that play and used the ward. Found out Toddy immediately. There was no ambush being set up except the one on the Gilded Gladiators, and the Aaru Scorpions were able to take that one.
What a set from the Aaru Scorpions. This is a team that now continues to surprise me. A new look at this roster. Again, a few new players joining this team, and they look so much better for it. A team, for lack of a better term, that seemed like an afterthought for a lot of SEC teams in Phase 1.
You're right.
Now are 2-0 moving forward, and the Gilded Gladiators are 0-2. Remember, the Gladiators qualified in the top half of the EU SEC into Smite Masters and the SEC tournament. So we saw success from this Gilded Gladiators team, but now have fallen just a bit short in their first couple of weeks. And so I think the Gilded Gladiators surely have some stuff as a team they'll get together and try to clean up after matches like this, maybe reprioritizing some of the support picks and bans as well. But I think the Aaru Scorpions have really put it together despite being a few different pieces that are just now coming together as a roster.
Yeah, I would say so. And also getting to see the highlights from a Khepri that were not a res or anything of the sort. Just
Give me kills.
Just last hits with the tick damage there. So just great play all around with the Aaru Scorpions. And I think you're right to highlight the fact that like last split, this was a team that was certainly overlooked and did perform up to what they thought they were able to accomplish. And now just coming out swinging. It seems like they understand this meta quite well, and they are making these teams play to their style right now. Being able to play through the jungle early, at least early on, Aprillium was the the dynamic force that was saying we're going to force fights here, here, and here. And as long as Preds was rotating around, no one was able to die. There was no picks on the table for the Gilded Gladiators to find a repick, if you will. And then Picorino said, "Hey, I'm just gonna be here, present around these fights, and being able to tick up a ton of damage in last hits."
Wow, so the lowest damage taken in the game, I mean, makes sense. You're a mage, you're far back. Also, by far, the top damage dealt in the game, 35,000 damage, 25,000 damage was the next highest. Gotta love that for Picorino. Again, SEC has been where Picorino's lived for a few years, and he's looked good in the SEC, so having matches like this, absolutely a confidence booster for the Aaru Scorpions and this team moving forward. So that wraps up this week in the EU SEC. Remember, one North American SEC game remains. That'll be tomorrow prior to the SPL broadcast at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. In all of the matches, 2-0 over in the EU SEC, and a couple of them not exactly the way that I figured they would go. The Styx Ferryman grabbing a 2-0 win over the Wargs. I thought that one would at least go 3. You don't expect the Wargs to be an 0-2 team here in the EU SEC. You definitely don't, in the past, expect the Aaru Scorpions to be a 2-0 team. Feels like the EU SEC undergoing some changes.
Yeah, and, looking at the roster of the Mambo, you certainly would expect them to be 2-0, but given how they started last split, you also wouldn't expect them to be on top because they came out of the gates so slow in that regard. They took them a while before they really understood what the playstyle they wanted to go for, and it's just complete flip-flop at this point in the EU SEC.
Well, Charlie, that is it for this week in the EU SEC, as I have mentioned, but we are just starting this week in the SPL, and that means the SPL waiting room. It's about to begin. Stick around, get your snacks, get your drinks. SPL waiting room coming up next.